Hey Stoic friends, welcome back. Have you ever been betrayed so violently, so intimately, that your heart didn't just break, it disintegrated? When love turned into poison, when kisses became weapons, when every "I love you" was a setup, a trap, a rehearsed line from a master manipulator playing God with your emotions. You didn't fall for them, you fell for the illusion. And the scariest part? You thought it was real. You bet your sanity on it. You gave them the keys to your peace and they burned the house down, then blamed you for the ashes. You tried. God, you tried. You begged reality to make sense. You gave chances like you were infinite. You stayed when your body screamed to run. You defended them to people who saw the truth before you did. You made excuses for their coldness. You called it trauma. You called it, they just need love. But no, they didn't need love. They needed control. They didn't want to grow with you. They wanted to consume you. And piece by piece, they did, until you couldn't even recognize yourself in the mirror without their reflection standing behind you like a ghost. There's a silence after betrayal that isn't empty, it's volcanic. It holds every scream you swallowed, every night you stared at the wall, replaying every lie, every manipulation, every time they twisted your kindness into weakness. You weren't weak. You were weaponized. You weren't stupid. You were sincere. You weren't blind. You just loved too hard, and they used it like a leash. But that leash, it snapped. And now, you're not here to prove a point. You're here to reclaim your damn soul, because revenge is too small for someone like you. You don't want to stoop, you want to rise. You don't need to shout, you need to vanish. And nothing tortures a narcissist more than your absence, your indifference, your peace, your success, your glow that no longer needs their validation to shine. You don't fight them with fire, you freeze them out. You become so untouchable, so emotionally bulletproof, they can't even recognize the version of you they once fed on. That's not revenge. That's evolution. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And this kind of bravery, it's not loud. It's in the silence of walking away. It's in the courage to block, delete, rebuild, and never look back. It's in the discipline to choose solitude over soul slaughter. It's in the power to love yourself so fiercely they can't break in again, even if they tried. This isn't Stoicism in theory. This is Stoicism in war. Calm as a storm about to break. Colder than the betrayal that birthed you. Stronger than the lies that almost killed you. This video is your resurrection. For the ones who bled behind closed doors but showed up smiling. For the ones who shattered, alone, and stitched themselves back together in the dark. For the warriors who were told they were too emotional, too intense, too crazy, but now wear those scars like armor. This isn't about getting even. This is about getting free, getting dangerous, getting sacred with your energy. You are not their victim anymore. You are the storm they'll never predict again. So don't you dare skip a second of this. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Not for me, but for the you that almost didn't make it. And if you feel this in your bones, if this lit something that's been buried beneath years of pain, write this below like a war cry. My peace tortures the narcissist. Now breathe, and let's begin. Number 1. Starve their ego with absolute silence. You want to destroy a narcissist. You want to crush their soul without lifting a single finger. Starve their ego. Cut the oxygen. Disappear like you never existed. And don't just walk away. Erase yourself from their world so thoroughly that your silence screams louder than your pain ever did. Because to a narcissist, silence isn't peace, it's death. It's standing in front of a mirror that no longer reflects their lies. And when that happens, they unravel, they rot, they suffocate under the weight of being irrelevant. This is not about revenge. This is about total emotional starvation. You become the famine, you become the drought. They used to drink your love like wine and wipe their mouth with your self-respect. Now, you've corked the bottle, you've locked the vault, and you're watching them claw at the door while you stand on the other side with absolute indifference, not hate, not rage, nothing. And that nothing, that's what haunts them. Because nothing is louder than silence from the one they thought they had wrapped around their finger. Understand this. Your rage once fed them. Your tears were currency. Every breakdown you had was music to their ears. They needed you to scream, to plead, to chase, to beg. Because in your chaos, they felt powerful. They wore your pain like a crown. But the second you go quiet, truly quiet, they lose their throne. They start texting the air, stalking your shadows, whispering your name like a ghost story they no longer control. And when you don't answer, they collapse. Because what they fear more than hatred is being ignored by the one they thought they owned. And don't be fooled, they'll lash out. They'll throw emotional grenades and pray one explodes. They'll smear you, fake tears, play the victim card like it's their last hand. And it is. But you don't react. Because you've seen the game, you've read the script, and you've thrown the entire stage into flames. You don't explain yourself to manipulators. You let them drown in the silence they once forced you to live in. You let them suffocate on the silence they thought would destroy you. This is not ghosting. This is not blocking. This is spiritual execution. This is you becoming untouchable. This is you standing in the eye of the storm with a face so calm it terrifies the devil. Because you've leveled up. You're not looking for closure. You are the closure. You've walked off their stage, mid-scene, mid-spotlight, and you didn't even slam the door. You disappeared so quietly it echoed. Marcus Aurelius didn't tell us to scream into the void. He said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That's what Stoicism is. It's not cold, it's controlled fire. It's not silence out of fear, it's silence that roars. You're not escaping, you're evolving. And in that evolution, you kill their power. Because now they're shouting at someone who doesn't even live in that dimension anymore. You are no longer a victim of manipulation. You are the storm after the silence. You are the ghost they can't summon back. You are the end of the chapter they can't rewrite. Let them stalk your shadow. Let them scream into their pillow. Let them rot inside their echo chamber. Because you've leveled up. And now your absence is louder than their entire existence. And remember, the most savage thing you'll ever do to a narcissist is vanish without a trace and never, ever look back. Number 2, glow up without warning. They thought you'd stay shattered, crawling, doubting yourself. They built an entire fantasy where you'd never rise without them, where your worth was tied to their approval, like a puppet strung up by gaslighting. But now you're unrecognizable, a storm wrapped in gold. You didn't just glow up, you detonated their entire illusion without a word, and now they're choking on the silence you left behind. This isn't just healing, this is vengeance in slow motion. You're not the same person who begged them to stay. You're not chasing closure, you became the closure. They mocked your dreams, twisted your love, and bet against you. But now you walk past mirrors with fire in your eyes and a war behind your smile. Not to impress, not to get noticed, but because your soul finally fits inside your body again. They used to call you too emotional, too intense, too much. Now your silence is so loud, it makes the walls shake when you enter a room. You're built different now. They used to drain your light like parasites. Now, they can't even touch you without burning their fingers. You became electric. You became what they feared most, a version of yourself that no longer needs their name in your story. You don't post your glow-up. You don't broadcast your wins. You move in shadows with thunder in your footsteps, and they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Watching you from burner accounts, dying inside every time they see your peace. Not the fake kind, the kind that only comes after surviving a war you never asked to fight. You didn't just level up, you left the game. You're healing in silence, stacking your wins, sharpening your mind like a blade forged in betrayal. You've outgrown their chaos, you've upgraded your circle, and you don't explain anything to anyone anymore because you finally understood wolves don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Let them whisper, let them envy. You've built a world they're not invited to anymore, and this silence, this strength, this rebirth is what drives them mad. Because narcissists don't fear revenge. They fear irrelevance. And now that you've outgrown their lies, they've become just another blurry name in a life you've already outlived. You didn't cut them off to hurt them. You disappeared to find yourself. And what you found was divine, untouchable, wild, unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You took that to heart. No clapbacks, no drama, just a quiet transformation so explosive they can't decide whether to hate you or try to become you. But it's too late. You already left the timeline where they mattered. You're not angry, you're ascended. Now you're walking like a storm wearing a crown. You don't glow to prove them wrong. You glow because you're finally right with yourself. You no longer walk into rooms looking for someone to choose you. You walk in and choose yourself. And that, my friend, that is the most glorious, goosebump-inducing, soul-ripping freedom they'll never taste. Number 3. Expose nothing. Confuse everything. They used to read you like a children's book, every thought, every scar, every broken dream laid bare. But now you've gone dark, not cold, strategic, not distant, untouchable. You've stripped them of access to your soul, and for narcissists, that's a fate worse than death. You've become a blackout in their kingdom of control. They pace the floor with 1,000 questions and no answers, because they no longer know what keeps you alive. And that, my friend, is your power. They don't want to know because they care. They want to know because they fear losing control. They're addicted to access, obsessed with your next move, because they built their ego on your reactions. But when you close the curtain on your private world, they suffocate on their own paranoia. You're not just healing, you're vanishing in plain sight. And a narcissist can't stand being left in the dark. You stop explaining, you stop apologizing, you stop painting targets on your heart. You start living in a different dimension, one where silence is lethal and privacy is sacred. You cut off the oxygen supply to their gossip games. You leave group chats that reek of fake smiles. You become an enigma, a walking contradiction, a calm storm they can't predict. No updates, no clues, just silence wrapped in fire. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So what did you do? You dyed your soul in quiet rage, in unbreakable discipline, in the shade of unbothered silence. You stopped bleeding for people who cheered for your wounds. You turned your life into a sealed temple, no tours allowed. And that, right there, is Stoic warfare. You don't fight fire with fire, you drown it in mystery. They want to argue, but you give them no stage. They want to provoke, but your face gives away nothing. They want to twist your truth, but you offer no words to twist. So they crumble, not because you attacked, but because you denied them the battlefield. They swing at shadows and choke on dust. You are the storm they didn't prepare for, the silence that screams louder than their manipulation. You are what happens when the victim mutates into legend, when the quiet one becomes the final blow. They wanted access. Now they only have rumors, and that burns them alive. Number 4. Never defend yourself again. A narcissist's paradise is your panic, your trembling voice, your overthinking, your defending, your desperate need to be understood. They don't want truth. They want your sanity in shackles. Every time you try to explain, they twist your truth like barbed wire around your own throat. They want you gasping for approval while they sit back and watch the show. They throw poison in your name and hand you the cup, smiling, and you keep sipping it, hoping they'll understand. But they never do. They never will, because it was never about truth. It was about domination. So one day, you stop. Mid-sentence, mid-defense, mid-fight. You just stop. You let them scream, let them lie, let them twist your name like a knife in the mouths of weak minds. You don't send clarifications. You don't beg for understanding. You don't hand out evidence to people committed to misunderstanding you. You let the silence speak. You let the noise rot. You disappear from the war zone and leave them to fight their own shadows. That's the punishment they never saw coming. Your absence becomes your power. Your silence becomes your sword. They scream into empty space now. Because when you walk away from chaos, chaos turns on itself. They wanted your fire to feed on, your tears to collect, your panic to wear like a trophy. But now they're starving, choking on their own lies, spinning tales in a dark room where no one listens anymore. Because you've vanished like smoke, untouchable, unreadable, unshakable. And this is Stoicism in its most savage form. Marcus Aurelius said, "To live a good life, we have the potential for it. If we learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference, and their opinion, their slander, their noise, it makes no difference, so you become indifferent, not cold, but clear, not cruel, but unreachable, not angry, but anchored in something they'll never taste, inner peace. You no longer run defense for people who play offense with your name. You no longer offer your peace to buy their comfort. You're not their therapist. You're not their scapegoat. You're your own goddamn sanctuary, so you guard your spirit like it's sacred, because it is. You've been through fire, you've walked through storms, and now you owe nobody an explanation for surviving. Let them talk. Let them rot. Let them wonder why you never fought back. The answer is simple. You stopped bleeding for people who loved the sight of your wounds. Number 5. Thrive in peace. They can't touch. You want to know the most brutal revenge against a narcissist? Peace. Not the fake polished kind where you smile through your teeth while your soul is screaming inside. Not that shallow Instagram filter of happiness. No, I'm talking about a peace so deep, so raw, so untouchable that it rips the very fabric of their existence. The kind of peace that burns their ego alive. Because chaos was their drug. They thrived in your pain, your confusion, your drama. And now you've suffocated their control with a silence so deafening it drives them to madness. You didn't argue, you didn't explain, you didn't beg. You simply disappeared into a reality where they don't even exist. And that's what destroys them. They used to feast on your wounds like vultures circling the dying. Your hurt fed them. Your suffering fueled their inflated sense of self. They needed your tears, your brokenness, to feel important. But now you're standing tall, sipping coffee in the morning with no shadow of their presence haunting your thoughts. You're walking barefoot on the earth, feet connected, soul grounded, heart unbothered. You left their circus, their chaos, their world, and you don't need to go back. You don't need to clap back. There's nothing to prove. You're not just healing. You've forged a new existence from the wreckage of your past. They don't have a ticket to your life anymore. You changed the locks, welded the gates shut, and now they're stuck outside, howling into an empty void. You don't chase the last word anymore. You stopped stalking their socials, stopped waiting for an apology that was never coming. You burned that desperate need for closure in the flames of your own rebirth. Now, when they try to provoke you, you don't flinch. When their lies spill, they fall flat, hitting nothing but air, because the truth no longer needs your defense. It stands without a voice. Their words can't pierce you anymore because you've armored your soul in something stronger than their petty games. Peace. This isn't weakness, my friend. This is silent warfare, and you're winning every second they scream into the void that won't answer. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." That's Stoic warfare right there. You didn't flee. You returned, not to them, not to the chaos, but to yourself, to that sacred, untouchable part of you that they tried to desecrate. But now it's fortified. It's no longer theirs to break, to manipulate, or to destroy. It's yours, sacred, protected. You've stopped playing their twisted game. You flipped the board, burned their rules, and walked into a life where their name is no longer on your lips. And that, my friend, is the storm they can never weather. When you go silent and let your glow shine without asking for permission. When you move on, not out of anger, but with the freedom only true peace can give you. That's when they crumble. They break because what they wanted from you was never your love. They wanted your chaos. And now they're drowning in the noise they once forced on you. The game is over. You didn't just heal, you became untouchable. The true agony doesn't come from what you do to a narcissist. It comes from what you stop allowing them to do to you. You stop feeding their insatiable hunger for drama, for control, for chaos. You stop reacting to their twisted games, their manipulation. You stop defending your worth, your peace, your soul. You break free from their grip, not with anger, but with unshakable calm. You rise, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not in noise, but in the profound silence of someone who's untouchable. You don't seek revenge. You don't even need to. Your strength isn't in what you say. It's in your unwavering silence and your absolute refusal to play their game. You walk away, unbreakable, not bitter, not broken, but bulletproof. Every scar you carry now becomes your armor. Every wound, a badge of honor. Your silence becomes your anthem. Your calm becomes your shield. And your power is the invisible force that keeps you grounded. Like a true Stoic, you've learned the art of detachment, the freedom that comes from disregarding what lies beyond your control. And in that freedom, you've found the strength to let go, to evolve, and to live without apologies. This journey, it's yours, sacred, untamed, unstoppable. Let the noise of the world fade. Let the whispers of doubt die in the wind. Let your actions speak louder than any words could. Let your scars remind you you're no longer the victim. You're the victor. And as you walk through this world, remember, you don't need their approval. They'll never control you again. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and join the movement of souls reclaiming their peace. This is your victory. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. This time, you win.